Hello. Uh, you know, um, I'm not into revenge. Uh, I was when I was younger. I think a lot of young people are because they're just immature. I was immature, of course. But I was very mature for my age when I was young. Uh, I remember I worked as a construction worker, and I was 14 years old, and I was on a job at a house with a construction crew, and we were having lunch on the roof, eating our lunch, and the topic came up of how old I was, and I didn't tell them. I was like, "Why don't you guess?" You know, and the numbers were, because I was 14, they were outrageous. You know, like some said 17, 20, and stuff like that, and I was like, "No, I'm 14." And they almost fell off the roof. You know, so that's just an example of how I was mature than my age. And they fired me because it was illegal for them to have me work. You know, so that was not a good not a good move. You know, it didn't matter. It was only like a weekend job for me. I was 14. It didn't matter. I wasn't paying rent or anything with it. So, but you know, but a lot of young people, that's why young people are accused of rape, violence, attacks on other young people, gangs, and because they don't know how to move through the world. They don't know how to function. They don't know how to be with a woman, and some are just sick. Your rapist is sick. They're not. They're not just normal people that want to get laid. But uh, I don't know. It's just with the young group, you have a lot more of your issues: drug use, drinking, DWIs, car crashes. I think the most highest way an 18-year-old dies is through a car crash. Stuff like that. There's just inexperience, lack of knowledge, and the biggest part is they all feel like they're never gonna die. It doesn't matter what you tell them. They're not afraid. They have no fear. They're not afraid of dying. That's why they drink too much and they drive because they don't think they're gonna die on the way home or kill someone else. Usually, a lot of times they do. And even with the gang violence, they go after other gang members for very extremely foolish reasons, because the guy was wearing a different color hat or whatever. All these stupid things, and they think it's like the end of the world, or they have the best reason in the world to do what they did. And when they voice it to you and they tell you why they did what they did, you're like, you did what? It's like what? You know, so it's just and and of course you have your older people that aren't mature either. Just because your age is a bigger number doesn't mean you're mature. A lot of older people are immature as crazy as fuck, and it's just yeah. There's a lot of reasons for that. The way they were brought up, the groups and people they associated with, you know, and I hung out with the wrong crowd, and I'm glad I hung out with the wrong crowd because it taught me who the wrong crowd was and what they stood for and what they were about, and if you're always in what the good crowd, you don't know much about the bad crowd or how they move or how they function, and you could be taken down by them very easily. And they look for you, they hunt for you because they know you don't know how they function and how they move. So that you're an easy victim, you're an easy target, and that's why you'll be walking down the street and all of a sudden you got a knife in your back or a gun to your head, and you're like, how did I get here? And whatever. You never saw it coming because you weren't looking. You didn't know what to look for, you know. But they knew what to look for, and that's why they came to you. And you were on their target. You were on their radar, And the bullies. Everybody says stay away from the bullies, you know. And to an extent, depending, like to take on a bully by yourself. Usually the bullies aren't by themselves. Usually they have a group that they have the followers and stuff, and it emboldens them, to think they can bully you and do what they want, and to stand up to them um, is risky. I wouldn't say don't do it. I would just say be careful if you do it. Uh, expect to get hurt, you know, uh, but but it's just the high schools and the schools just report a bully and stay away from a bully. It's like the Say No to Drugs campaign, which worked so well. Started the biggest drug epidemic in the 80s when they started that. You know, everybody said yes and not no. So I don't believe in that PC bullshit that they sell. You know, people are gonna do what they're gonna do. And they're programmed to do it. It's part of society. You know, look how many people smoke pot now. They did in the past, but a lot of the people that were against pot in the past are smoking it now because it's legal. And I think, well, it's okay, it's legal, and it's not okay. It'll never be okay. But the tax money's okay, and that's why it's okay. You know, so it's like they're just following the crowd. A lot of people follow the crowd. If everybody goes right, they go right with them. And it's like the lemmings jumping off a cliff. They just go off the cliff with everybody else and blame the guy in front of them. I didn't. I jumped off the cliff because he did. And but you're done. You're dead when you jump off the cliff. So, it's not a good idea. And my motto and the way I follow things, if everybody goes right, I go left. And everybody goes up, I go down. So I go the opposite. And usually I'm the one that's fine. Everybody else is screwed up. Never underestimate the power of stupidity in a large crowd. And that's how you get your riots, and uh, that's how when there's a fire and there's only one door, so many people die behind the door because nobody will stop and let everybody go through. It's a mass panic, and everybody dies instead of just a handful. And the stupidity of the crowd. So never trust the crowd. If the crowd likes something, like the example, the crowd liked Trump, which obviously was the worst thing they could have done. And so the crowd liked him, and the crowd didn't like Kamala, and the crowd didn't like Biden, and obviously we wouldn't be in a war with Iran if we had Kamala or Biden. The gas prices would be $3 or $2.99 instead of what they are now. And everything else that rep, the repercussions of all that. So it's just never go with the crowd. Go when the crowd goes one way, check out the other way. Because I'm sure you're gonna find it's not so bad. You know, uh, it's probably a better route, and and you'll have to go alone because everybody's gonna go with the crowd. When you go the other way, you're going alone. You're not taking a crowd with you. The people are lemmings. People are followers, and they will follow the crowd no matter what. And that's it. You know, so uh, don't expect. That's why I say, in one of my videos, I do things differently. Everybody's trying to get to the mountaintop by buying a stock and making millions of dollars off a stock, or uh, going to school, getting a degree, and becoming a programmer or a lawyer or a doctor. And those are all, you know, they have success. People that are programmers make a lot of money, and a lot don't. A lot of programmers don't make a lot of money, and a lot of doctors don't make a lot of money, and a lot of lawyers don't make a lot of money because those professions are labeled as making a lot of money. So a lot of people go into those professions, and the competition is fierce. And if you want to be a partner in a law firm, uh, you're gonna have to work your butt off, and you could work with your butt off and get fired, and make one mistake and you're gone. And it's because they got another guy right behind you waiting to take your spot, and they don't need you, and so it's not a guarantee. And you could walk out of law school with at least $200,000 in student loan debt, and if you don't get a job as a lawyer, you're gonna have a very hard time paying that. Even as a lawyer, you're gonna have a hard time paying it. So, it's just that's why artists, artists is hard because anybody can draw. Anybody can draw. Now, whether they can draw good, well, I don't know if that's important. Uh, it's more or less what they draw, not how they draw. Uh, I've seen a blank canvas. It was a wall piece of canvas. It was the size of a wall, and it went for $40,000 at an auction. And there was nothing on it. The guy didn't even sign it. It was just a blank canvas. It was a big blank canvas, but it's still just a blank canvas, and it went for $40,000. So obviously he didn't have talent, uh, you know. So, and the guy that went to art school and went to college for art, he's making $100 an hour, $100 a day, working in a school or someplace. And it's just you never know who's gonna hit and who's not. Uh, and the ones that do hit usually surprise you, like the canvas wall. It's surprising, you know. But and everybody after that happened, everybody's like, well, why didn't I think of that first? Like why didn't I think about it? And then everybody got their canvas out and said, how much do you give me for mine? And everybody's like, nothing. We're not paying you for anything, And that ship is already. I remember there was one. He duct taped a banana, a real banana, duct taped it to a canvas, and I think he got like $80,000 for that. It's like obviously the banana's not gonna last that long, So I don't know. You have a short term investment, you know. But yeah, it was real. It was crazy. I probably would have ate the banana, but it's just abstract art. It's crazy. And then you see these people that do sculptures and sculpture work, and you look at the thing and you're like, what the hell is that? Meanwhile, it goes for $1 million. And it's just metal, metal, soldered to, or welded to this and welded to that, and I guess whatever it is in your head, that's what it is. You know, it's just, and I'm not putting down art. I think everybody should do art. I have an art app, and I try to learn art through the art app. It's a art school on an app, and I haven't really done it. I was gonna do it every day, at least one class a day, and I haven't done it. I've been lazy, but I think about it all the time. Thinking this is a good time to go on do a class, and like then I start thinking, oh, I gotta do that, I gotta do this, and I don't do it. And when I do have time, I want to sleep. I don't want to go on a class because for some reason it puts me to sleep. I don't know if it's the voice of the instructors, um, but something about it. I have a hard time making it through the whole class, and it's not that it's boring. I think it's very interesting, but it's very slow going. I mean, the guy's drawing a bird, and it takes an hour to. They don't even finish the bird in an hour. They just draw the the basics of the bird. You could tell it was meant to be a bird by the hours, by the time the hour was up. And it's very slow going because they're explaining all the details, they're explaining all the options, they're explaining all the moves. So it's very hard to stay awake when they do that. Because most of it you don't care. It's like, yeah, whatever. And you want to see the end product. And when you see the end product, it's like, wow, it's really a pretty bird. It really looks good. You know, but there's a lot of work that goes into it. You don't realize how much work goes into it. And you know, I just try to open different avenues for myself. Computers, and I'm an accountant, so I think of money in business. Not to start a business. I don't want to start a business at all, and I don't want money at all. I don't want money at all. Uh, it's just uh, it's all a trap. It's all a trap to get you sucked back into the matrix. You know, when you need that money, you're sucked back into the matrix. And when you start that business, the problem with a business is today's customers not important. It's tomorrow's customers that are important. And if you don't take care of today's customer, you won't have tomorrow's customer. So, it's just a whole quagmire, and I have no interest in it. And it's just keeping the perpetual bullshit going. Most businesses are all built on bullshit. They have a slogan or a mantra, whatever they're trying to sell you. And I'm just, I don't have the stomach for it. I don't have the care in the world to go sell something. I have some things on eBay, and I list them, and I walk away. I don't boost them. I don't do anything. I just leave them there. If somebody wants them, they'll contact me, and I'll put them in a box and mail them. But if not, I don't care. You know, and I don't discount my price. I don't lower the price. Um, because at that point, why are you doing it if you're gonna give it away for free? And it's a good deal what I got on there. It's a screensaver, but it's a good screensaver. I happened to get extra screensavers at one point, so I put them on eBay. But it's not a business. It's not a business. It's pocket cash. Maybe I'll buy some toilet paper with the money I get. Something. But and I don't buy big ticket items. Anything that needs maintenance. You know, like a car. Any. I try and stay away from continual payments. The app on these iPads and my phone, they're continual payment, but I don't see how I can do without them. Uh, you know, I use them. And if I don't use them, I get rid of them. But if I use them, I keep them. And I like the apps where you pay a one-time fee and you have it for life, and you don't have to continually pay a subscription fee. I always go for that one-time fee, and sometimes that's a trap, because uh, the app sucks. And you pay the one-time fee, and you have to pay the fee to find out it sucks. So it's a little late. Once you pay, you can't get the money back. It's a done deal. So, but I don't know. It's a lot of false advertisement when it comes to apps. A lot of false advertising when it comes to apps. And they always entice you. It's best to go on to download an app and go into it and try to join, but not actually join, and walk away. And they'll come back to you with 50% off or something to get you to buy it. And usually that's the way it works. That's what they did with the art app too. They discounted it because I walked away. They gave you like a month or 2 months free, and then I walked away, and they're like, "Oh, you do it for this amount." And I think it was $100. It used to be $200. Now it was $100. So I'm like, yeah, why not? You know, but it's just life in general. I'm not a salesman. I could sell, but I'm too honest. If the product sucks, I'll tell you it sucks. You know, I'll be like, you don't want that. And if I see somebody who's broke or poor and they can't afford what I'm trying to sell them, I won't sell it to them. You know, I'll tell them they're wasting their time. They can do better somewhere else, put their money somewhere else. I can't lie to them, and that's why I can't be an actor. I can't be fake like that. I can't be believable if I'm trying to be fake like that. You would know I'm being fake in a minute. You know, so but I don't know. I, that's and I can tell when other people are fake. Right away. You can't be fake with me because I know it. And if I don't pick up on it like that instant, it comes to me later on. I'll think about what you said, or how you said it, or the eye movement you made, or the hand gestures you made, and I'll put it together that you were lying, and then I'll either cut you off or I'll do something that ends the relationship. And it happens a lot. It doesn't happen a lot. A lot of people lie to me. A lot of people lie to you too. It's just you don't know. And a lot of them are your family members. And a lot of the family members thing is they were lied to, so they're just passing on the lie. You know, or they're treating you badly because somebody else in the family didn't like you or didn't like what you did. So they want everybody to not like you and treat you badly. It's easier in a crowd. It's like the bully with the crowd with the following. And um, and that's why when you go up against the bully and he has a crowd behind him, it's very difficult because the bully is very motivated to keep that crowd behind him. And if he doesn't crush you in that moment, then he risks losing the crowd. And they won't risk that. So they'll come harder on you before they let the crowd go away. Because they're only doing it for the crowd. And they're insecure, their false ego. It's just they think they have false power and stuff. So it's just uh, I I don't know. Like I think Mandani, the mayor of New York, he talks about arresting Netanyahu when he comes in September to talk at the UN. And I know he knew from the very beginning that he didn't have the power to do that. The State Department, the federal government, has the power to do that, and they don't have the stomach to do that now. They don't want to do it, especially with Trump being in charge. Uh, so Netanyahu can basically shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and go home uh, and get away with it. Uh, it's just it's pathetic. I think he's wrong as hell. But I think Mandani did what he did. He just made a big public case about trying to arrest him, and it was part of his campaign. It was a campaign promise that he made, and I think he was just trying to show the people that he was trying to keep his promise, and he knew very well that he couldn't arrest him, and I believe he knew when on the campaign that he knew he couldn't arrest him. But it sounded good. It made for a newspaper headline, made for a soundbite, you know, so it looked good, you know, and he was playing the bully, and the anti-Netanyahu crowd loved it and cheered him on. They wanted him to do it. And I don't think making that grandstand was all that beneficial. I think it made us look weak for one. It made him look weak too. And I think he should have left well enough alone. You know, knowing Trump's in charge and Netanyahu has his dick up Trump's ass. You know, it's not going to happen. But and Trump's a bully. Trump's a big bully, and he's got a lot of people behind him, and he'll do anything, and a lot of Israel supporters behind him. So he'll do anything to protect them. His own son-in-law is a Jew, so he's not going to go against the Jews. And it's just it wasn't a very smart move, and I thought he was smarter than that. And he looked very foolish. Uh, so we look foolish too for as a country allowing him to come here and speak and not arrest him. Just like when Putin and Putin and Trump met in Alaska a while back there. They should have arrested Putin right there. I would never have let Putin leave. I would have grabbed him. But I know it'd be an international incident and all this crazy stuff. But uh, I think I still would have done it. Uh, but because Putin is definitely guilty of war crimes up the wazoo. And I think when we talk war crimes, they talk about Saddam Hussein was guilty of war crimes, but the WMDs that didn't exist, and all that, and because he gassed the Kurds, and Sadat was guilty of war crimes when he gassed his own people too in Syria, and there was definite proof that he did it, and they it's just a headline that it's a war crime. They don't give a shit. They really don't give a shit. The United States uses more uh, WMDs than anybody else. We make more of them, and when we use them, who's gonna arrest the bully? Who's gonna arrest the big guy on the block? Nobody's. Um, they get away with it. They do what they want. But little guys like who they got at Guantanamo Bay, they're all little guys. Those are the guys that pay. It's like the black guy that steals a pack of cigarettes and gets 20 years, and the white guy who embezzles all these people's life savings and doesn't spend a day, and gets a slap on the wrist, and they call it a mistake. What the black guy does is a crime. What the white guy does is a mistake. You know, it's just it's not right, uh, and things have to change. They really do. And until they do, it's going to be a screwed up world, and it's getting more screwed up every day. Um, I don't know. I pray for everybody, and you should all pray for everybody too, not just for yourself. Pray for everybody. 'Cause we're all in this boat together, even though you can't see it. But this is a boat, and it's going down.